Hey, good evening, morning, guys. How are you? It's already a thumbs up. That's a really good way to start the show. There's a thumbs up already. Hey, apologies for being a couple of minutes late. Um, it was Nate Bliss's fault. I'm instantly going to throw him under the bus. Yeah, we were testing out. Welcome to the show. Thanks everybody for showing up. Hey guys. Hey, sorry Nate. I'll explain. No, I was just kidding. So last night, my last night, yesterday morning for you guys, we were yeah, no, I should show how many paints I've got so many different kinds. I keep them in these boxes, right? Um, we'll talk about them in a sec. The Well, I don't know if I can say that channel. So this guy's he seems like a nice dude. He's been commenting on my YouTube stuff, and his channel's name is the Crazy Asian Channel, the Crazy Asians Channel. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Yeah, my wife's laughing. Um, my wife from Tokyo is in the background. She's laughing at me saying that now. There's the shout out. So last night I was testing out the Discord voice chat function with Nate Bliss. Thank you very much, Nate, for helping me test that out. The One of the things I wanted to do was sometimes I feel this show runs a little long, and it's just one idiot talking, me, and I would prefer some more voice interaction with everybody. And it was really fun to hear Nate talking back instead of just the typing with the chat, and hearing some stuff back, and the feedback etc. about different things was really really useful. So that was a big help. So I was thinking about trying it today, testing it out today, doing it as a two-part show. So I want to keep the YouTube content and try to make sure it's as value packed as possible. Live shows are difficult because it's I can't edit it down and make it condensed like I can with the. Hi Jake, welcome mate. Good morning. Everybody's saying morning for me. Thank you, because I appreciate almost none of you. It's morning. I want to make it as value packed as I can, and as dense as possible. So I thought about we could make it a two-part show. So I'll keep this part as condensed as possible. Try to keep it to a modeling topic, and focus on that. Then for everybody, good morning, Takumi. How are you today? We're just starting now, and because my friends are down in Sydney, I'm in the north of Australia. Hi, Nicholas. Welcome, mate. Good to see you. And for those of us who want to keep chatting, we can move it to Discord. I've got a channel set up over there. You can do chat. There's a couple of channels. There's regular, the text type one, and then there's Takumi's having trouble connecting, is he? Sorry to hear that, mate. So yeah, two parts. We'll do this YouTube one, and you guys get to chat in the background while I'm working. So I'm kind of, I'm jealous about that, because I can see you guys all having a good time and talking, and then there's white noise Linc, stinky Linc in the background yapping. So I wanted to get in on some of that. So we'll keep it relatively short. We'll try to focus on topic, and then afterwards we can move it to Discord, and I hope to see lots of you guys there. We can do that via both the chat and voice channel. Okay, let's go. Paints. I get asked quite a few times about paints, and fair enough. I understand that there's different kinds of modelers and artists out there. Some people work with one set, and they and they're really really good with it. There's a friend of mine, and I absolutely love his work. Ben Comets. Do check it out. Do a Google search for him. He also runs a super successful Patreon campaign, and he's definitely worth it. I support him there for $10, and I love his tutorials, his PDFs, and his videos. His videos are good, but his PDFs are just magic. So I'm all over that. He seems to work with like 3 paints. I swear, he produces these masterpieces of miniature art with 3 or 4 colors, almost exclusively from Vallejo model color. It's just amazing what he can do with such a limited amount of paints and products. But that's because he's focused on that and he's really, really good at it. Um, I can't do it. I just can't stick with, maybe it's grass is greener. I just can't do it. So when new stuff comes out, I've got to try it, right? So, Takumi, you made it. Good morning, mate. I hope you can see everything now. So, over the years, I've experimented with loads and loads of products. And being based in Tokyo, that gave me local access to a bunch of paints too. It really broadened my horizon, my mind with... morning, Aaron. Good to see you, mate. Really broadened my mind with relation to with products, how to use them, and how to combine them. And that's one of the really fun parts of modeling to me. Oh, I've got to go. I'm going to run across to my drawer. I've got to grab a couple more things that I really wanted to show you guys. Just a moment. So how's that for live? Yeah, the door creak of doom. No. Have you ever heard that in my videos? Right, sometimes Tomoe gets all activity crazy when I'm trying to edit videos, right? And she'll run around and she'll do everything. I know I'm going to get in so much trouble for saying this. She runs around trying to be quiet in the background when I'm doing like voiceovers and editing, and but no matter how slowly you do that door, it's got this like the plastic things at the top. A lot of Aussie doors have it, and it's meant. I think it's meant to make that noise. It's like those Nightingale ninja floors they've got over it. If you guys have been to Kyoto, the floors inside Nijojo, God, how do you say that in English? That's the really old imperial palace that's in Kyoto, and it's got they've called it, the translation is the Nightingale floor. It actually sounds better in English than Japanese, and as you walk across it, it squeaks, and it's to stop ninja from coming in. So I think this is like a ninja door to stop me making clean voice recordings for YouTube. The singer, yes, a bunch of you guys have seen it. That's really cool. Stephen Neal and Kenneth are just commenting that they've seen it. Come on, did you guys also try to ninja your way across the floor like I did? Like, I kind of like squeaked across. It was really, really hard. Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to show, this is just a really quick random selection because I was running late this morning. Really sorry about that. This is like a random selection. I literally have the world's supply of paints. There's very few paints I haven't tried, and it's really cool too because now I'm in a position where people send paints at me to get shown on the. Oh, I haven't got SMS. Sorry, Scott. I don't. Oh, they're in another box. So I get paints all the time. Good morning, Justin. Hey, mate. So you just throw out Neverworlder. That's the best comment so far this morning. He says, just throw a box of Lego across the floor. No one will cross it. Yeah, I think that's why they originally invented Lego, was to do very quick anti-ninja floors. And they had to, that was the reinvention. And then they found out that they actually clicked together and you could make spaceships out of them. Spaceship! So, world supply of paints. Companies send them to me often to test out, to get them in front of other people for social media and what have you. I'm happy to do that. It's fun. And testing them and working out how different combinations work is super, super fun. So, the question I always get asked is, which paint? 2 questions. Combination. Which paint is that? The one I used. And that was one of the primary reasons I got into making content, was to... one-to-one answering of questions is just not an efficient use of time. Once I got asked that question, 1,223,000 times, I thought, hey, what if I made videos showing the processes I go through in the different products? And if you want to know, you have to do some work and sit through 5 minutes of video, and then you can see all of the stuff, because it's never 1 or 2 paints. Do you guys remember when you first started modeling and you bought like a box, like a Games Workshop thing, and on the back it said you need these two colors to make Space Marines look like that? And I believed that. I bought the box and I bought those two color paints and it didn't quite look like that. And down this road I stumbled. So the second question I get is, which kind of paint should I use? And I want to touch on that as briefly as I can today. The most important one is, I'd say, get what paints you can buy locally and easily, because you'll pay less for them, compared to Tristan for the win. Hey, are you back in Australia yet, mate? Tristan's asking, so what paint should I use? Use the paint that you can get locally and easily. That's my number one answer. Just because we've got to make this modeling shenanigans as easy as possible. We can just get more stuff done. If the more hurdles we put in front of ourselves, the less we'll get done. I know, Aaron, our SMS it's in another bottle that... Can you dig it out, please, Tomoe? It's Aaron's fault. Aaron is giving you an extra job to do. Totally throwing... Yeah, it's the most local for me, and it was in one of the other bottles. Aaron, Scott sent me some colors that I don't know how to use. So they're not... I don't know how to use them. They're very specific. I'll show you. Throwing your mates under the bus is what it's all about. So yeah, get what paints you can you can get locally. But in my defense, these paints are kind of local for me because people send them to my letterbox. So okay, here's the Aussie super paints here that also came to my letterbox, and you'll see what I mean. So I don't know how to use colors like this yet, so I need a project that I can experiment on with them. What's this? So there, it's a purple crystal acrylic lacquer. And these colors are really cool sounding. I've got no clue what to use them on yet. So once a topic comes up that I can use them on, I'm definitely going to give them a go. Going by their thinness, they'll definitely be an airbrush paint. You can see the sediment to, I don't know if it's called sediment, but you know what I mean. Just eyeballing it. I'd say that's a pretty easy to chuck in an airbrush and spray straight off. Yeah. So go with what you can get in your letterbox if you can, and but otherwise, growing up in Tokyo and starting modeling there, I used to nip down the 5-10 minutes down the road, and buy these were the first ones I started off that were local paints there, Mr. Color, and but before that I did have couple of years of usage of these ones, just because I stumbled into a place that had them, the Citadel paints. So answer one, get paints that you can get locally and easily, just to simplify your logistics chain. That sounded clever. Because when you run out of stuff, as possible, you want to be able to get back into your workflow as easily as possible. So that's my number one. Then people start asking about specific types of paints. Really quick run through. In the big scheme of things, we've got mineral-based and acrylic-based paints in the big scheme of things. Technically speaking, these things are acrylics too. And if you like stinky Linc, you'll go into the shop, Mr. Color. Have I got the old bottles? No, I've run out. I've used them all. Do you remember the older Mr. Colors that had the they've got the grippy thing on top? They're not this. They got like the plus screwdriver thing on top. If you read it on the bottom, if you can read Japanese, it says acrylic polymer on the bottom. Yep, there it is. Right up the top there it says acrylic, and it is, but it's a solvent-based acrylic. So that's the two differences though. Starting off, you've got acrylic-based. And then you've got mineral spirit enamel based, like ye old Humbrels. The big difference being there that and then you've got breaking down your acrylic paints, then you'll have water-based ones and solvent-based ones. Some of them, like Tamiya, are slightly in the middle due to the chemical wizardry. They're very, very clever, but specifically Tamiya, the ones that are called acrylic paints, are a solvent-based acrylic. They do clean up with water though. They're magical. Same with the Mr. Color, the aqueous paints. They will also clean up with water. They don't thin particularly well with water because thinning and cleaning up are two different things. For cleanup, I'm sorry if this is pedantic for some people, but just for this is I just want to do a quick 101 kind of overview as succinctly as I could. Thinning the paint usually means adding something that the paint is made out of to make it stretch and keep the properties of the paint intact, so it still handles well, particularly on a brush. Then with water-based ones that thin with water, they will also adding water to them will thin them. However, that also does mean, almost by definition, that they don't actually clean up in water. You're just thinning them more. I know that's going to rough. Some people are going to go, no, that's wrong, because this is the internet and they told me. That's why when you use a lot of Citadel paints, it's good every now and then to clean your brush in solvent to get it off, because water won't always get all of that paint off your brushes. That's why Citadel paints, they're lovely to hand brush with, they're okay to airbrush with, but they beat up your brushes pretty quickly if you don't clean them. What I recommend is either a brush cleaner. I just use the Mr. Color lacquer thinner, and that does clean up those paints. Interesting, right? These ones are the other ones. Humbrels are an interesting but difficult and tricky paint. They're one of the old originals. I don't know how old they are, like 70, 80 years old, right? And probably enamel paints, of course, goes back a lot further. They require mineral spirit, and they cook or cure. The smell is reasonable, performance is excellent, but they are difficult to work with and they take a long time to cure. They actually need to undergo a chemical change to change from their liquid state to set up and dry. And with some tins, they can go bad. And gloss black is notorious in their range. Some of their gloss paints are notorious for not curing properly, leaving you with a sticky, gunky mess on the model. So they're good. They're very good in hot weather because they have a little bit more of a drying time, but they are challenging to work with. I don't recommend them for beginners, except for dry brushing. I think out of all of the paints I've used, if I can have any choice of a dry brush paint, Humbrol, even better than Tamiya enamels, Humbrol enamels dry brush super well. Takumi-san saying, yeah, Humbrol's never dry. Exactly. But when you that's kind of one of the reasons they work on as a dry brushing paint, because they stay wet for so long on the brush. You get really, really good value out of it, and you can put it on quite thin, and it stays in that good condition for dry brushing for a long time. Acrylic paints, on the other hand, are fine for dry brushing too, but they dry a lot quicker. So that perfect state for dry brushing on your brush lasts only for a couple of minutes. It's very, very short. And you'll have more trouble getting that paint out of your brush to clean it up than you would with a solvent base. But there's just pros and cons to everything. I don't want to be too complicated about it. They all work. They're all excellent. I use all of these paints. So they're all good. It's just for different reasons. So after working with these for quite a while, my local paints available with these, and it was just when I was starting out with the Maschinenkrieger modeling, and the internet wasn't super helpful for them because there was nobody else using these in English. I had to really learn Japanese to learn how to use the paints. It was kind of funny how that worked. And I bought the first book by Ko Yokoyama sensei on painting his Maschinenkrieger models. He goes into a little bit of detail with it. And for those guys who know me, that cascaded into a series of events. I ended up working together with him and doing studio models in that paint. They're a beautiful, very high quality paint. I understand they're difficult to get in some places. Hobbyco sells them. I was really impressed that Hobbyco has a full rack of Mr. Color paints in their store. Mr. Color, they have Humbrolls, they had the Acrylics versions of these, they had the world's supply of ammo, and they had a full range of these SMS paints. I was super impressed. So I just wished I lived up the road in Sydney. So then that would be I would just be stumbling in there to grab paints. If you're beginning, if you're starting out, and you want to do hand brush and paintbrush, you can't go wrong with so Ammo by Mig Jimenez and Citadel would be my go-to ones. These are good too for different versions. The Vallejo make versions of Citadel. Now, if you can indulge me for just a moment, this might be a personal thing, but I believe the Citadel paints are more advanced than the Vallejo version, the game color version, which is good and bad. I think they suffered over the years because of that, because they were made to be used in a painterly way. They have a little bit more of a transparent carrier layer, so they could be layered up and done with and used for various techniques. Whereas the Vallejo paints, have I got any more? Yeah, like this is a great color too. The Vallejo paints, these were designed for use for cell animation, cell painting. They're used by the Disney guys in California, imported from Spain. I think that's why initially the English site for Vallejo was done in English was for them, back before it was all done digitally. So these paints give beginners a really quick route to opacity, 1 or 2 brush strokes, and the model looks painted, which is perfect for beginners, right? Because they want to see results quickly, and they don't want to get discouraged. So that the falling in between them, I think the ones that give really good all-round performance, I'm having a lot of joy with these Ammo by Mig Jimenez paints. They're airbrush paints that hand brush really well too. Like I like going. I happen to reach into the metal one. I'm having good luck with them too. They go on a little thinner than the straight Vallejo ones. Very similar to the Vallejo model Airline. They go on it like a wash sort of thing. So I found them to be a pretty good middle ground there. So if I was beginning and you were going to do airbrush and hand brush, and you wanted to just tackle one set of paints that seems to have a really good range of everything, it's not so complicated, I'd go with the Ammo by Mig Jimenez. Vallejo is good too, but they've kind of complicated it with having too many different lines. I mean, they're all equally guilty of that, but that's fine. So they're really good for that. Gaia notes, if you can get it, are crazy good. Oh, and before I get off, this is one I've yet to use these, so I'm not going to talk about them like I know. I've got a model ready that I'm going to both hand brush and airbrush test this on. I wanted to do the model half and half, because then people ask me why hand brush, why airbrush, and well, that's for a different video. But my short version is to use the tool that's appropriate for the job. But I'll give this one a test. But this one looks like it'll be a nice cleanup one too. Now, one of the simple things with these other paints though is that, remember I mentioned like Citadel and the acrylics, they thin with their own. This is starting to get complicated, isn't it? So these ones thin with water. Somewhat, mostly clean up with water, but need a solvent to really clean up. These ones thin with water, thin better with their own thinner. They do seem to clean up with water pretty well. Solvent again, good for cleanup. The enamel paints, everything works with enamel. You can paint them. I have tested this just out of stupidity. You can use lacquer thinner with these, but it dries a little bit funny. It does speed them up. It makes them work really, really, really fast. But it flattens and deadens the finish a little bit, but it's interesting. It does change the property of the paint. But generally speaking, these thin and clean up with mineral spirits. and clean up with lacquer thinner is really, really good. Super paints, these ones and the Gaia Notes, equally, they thin with their own thinner, thin with lacquer thinner, and clean up with lacquer thinner. These paints never dry. They never cure, excuse me. It's early in the morning, I'm babbling. They technically, they don't alter their chemical composition. So lacquer paints, I've got to test these ones and see if they work exactly the same. I would imagine so. Lacquer paints never cure. That means they don't undergo a chemical change. So you can always add thinner, reactivate them, and use them again. And if you look back to my like my CPIG or the Ammonite videos that I've done, you can see that I'll often reactivate the paint with some thinner. I find that really useful for a start-stop painting process. So that works really well for me, but it might be difficult for beginners to get into. Okay, I think I've covered them pretty well then. So the three main types that I'll work with then are acrylics, that I would consider water-based, lacquer paints that I consider, that are, not just that I consider, it's not that I consider it that it makes it so, that in my mind I think lacquer paints are their own creature, acrylic paints are one creature, and then the enamel paints are another. And one of the reasons I'll use them in different ways is that the enamels, lacquers and acrylics don't really play well together. You can put lacquers down first, you can put acrylics over the top, but not vice versa. Enamels and acrylics and lacquers don't really play well together for paint finishes. So that's why I shy away now from doing paint finishes in these and use them as a weathering tool. I'll lay down paint coats with either acrylic paints or lacquer paints, and then use enamel for weathering steps after it, and it works very well. That's just a good methodology, and it's a good process to follow. So, coming back to the original question, which paints? First, see what you can get locally. If you have full amount of choices and you're just getting started, I'd go with acrylic paints just for the gentler learning curve. If you've got people around you, the smell won't bother them, and there's probably just a couple of less things to buy. I mean, you don't have to have various kinds of thinners in your house. You can just go with water. The acrylic thinner doesn't smell too bad. They're very good. And then if you're willing to step up and go for some other more exotic ones, then I would try, you can airbrushing with something like this and hand brushing with these ones. If you want to get that really authentic Machine & Krieger Studio look, they are done with these paints. So if you wanted to get exactly that look, you have to use those paints. I will try to do some approximate versions with, I'm going to do one with these ones. I thought that can work for us. Okay, I think that basically covers that. Oh, and there's one more. There's one more I wanted to test out. Along the lines with these ones, because I'm hearing really good things. I just have not had a chance to use the one-shot primers. I did a little hand brush test with these. These were really good too. I want to airbrush this one as well and compare it to using the Mr. Clear Super Coats. See how it airbrushes, see how durable it is, and give it a bit of a test. That could be fun too. And that's an acrylic. I mean, that's one of the reasons I do say the Ammo by Mig Jimenez range is quite good, because you can get everything from the primers straight through to these all in acrylics, and you're only working with and learning one medium. So in one way, I think that might be a little bit easier. Okay, alrighty, I'll cut it short there. I was hoping to get it under 15 minutes, but it's gone a little bit long. I can see you guys having a good chat in the background. I hope that makes sense and is useful for somebody there. Which paints? I can go on with another one with tools next time. Maybe even a quick discussion on hand brush and airbrush, as opposed to hand brush versus airbrush, because I don't think they need to be mutually exclusive, and that could be interesting for us. So I'm going to have my second cup of coffee. I'm going to crank up Discord. There's 2 channels open in there. We've got a voice channel, which I'm really keen to hear what some of you guys sound like. It was really cool talking with Nate last night. Discord, but we've also I'll have the chat client open as well, and I'll be smacking away at the keyboard so we can have a couple going at once. It'd be very cool to have a chat with you guys too. If you don't know how to get into that Discord, you can find links to it, Paint on Plastic group, or it's activated through your Patreon account. And when you when you're connected to the correct tier, when you open it up, boom, it just instantly adds you. It's something really cool about the Patreon functionality, is that it's set that up for us. It's kind of like just a free bonus, and it's ready to go. I didn't need as many technical abilities to do it. Okay, thanks guys. Really good chatting with you. I hope this is useful, and we'll talk again soon. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Okay, bye for now.